So yes, the title is correct. Bad news. No one is buying expensive GPUs. But this is not bad news for you. This is bad news for specifically Nvidia, who has some of the most expensive GPUs on the market. Recently, prices have been really tumbling. It's hard to describe how fast these prices have come down. Even the big RTX 3090, we're seeing them much closer to the original $1,500 MSRP on non-Founders Edition than we've ever seen before. I even walked into my local Micro Center today and they told me that people just aren't buying these GPUs. If you look right now on Newegg, you'll see a smattering of GPUs in stock at their retail MSRP. Now, these are going to be the 3090 Ti's. You can find them basically all day at $19.99, which is their retail MSRP. You'll be able to find them from EVGA, Asus, MSI. There's a bunch there that you can choose from, and this is really uncharacteristic because previously, when like the RTX 3090 came out, you couldn't even find the worst models for significantly over MSRP. Now, why is this happening? It's hard to quantify if it's general macro world economic issues. Perhaps it's the crypto mining, really people getting scared about the upcoming merge with ETH, even though that does get delayed, it seems, for years and years. Of course, demand is definitely down because GPUs are available now at these much more expensive prices. I always thought that many people buying very expensive GPUs were not gamers or enthusiasts, but had a lot to do with the crypto market, which of course people can buy GPUs for whatever they want. But now that people are a little more hesitant to buy anything that they see, like they were last year, people would buy basically any GPU to be able to mine on. Now it really opens up the market, and a typical gamer is not going to want to overspend on one of these RTX GPUs, no matter how good they may seem. This trend really started with something like the 3080 Ti. In my opinion, it's a great gaming GPU, but it was priced way too high. Now, the pricing issues are catching up with Nvidia. If they thought that the typical gamer was going to want to pay these outrageous prices, like over $2,000 for 3090s, near $2,000 for 3080 Ti's, they're really sadly mistaken. Whatever craze happened during 2020 and 2021 definitely is over by now. It took a long time. It took all of last year and a little bit of the beginning of this year until finally those tariffs expired, until people really came back down to their senses. And it basically shows you the emperor has no clothes, basically, when you see these hyper expensive GPUs now sitting on the shelves. If you look at something like a 3080 Ti Strix, at one point it was $2,099, and now it's down, really not really anywhere where it should be, but it's down at least $500 in most retailers. That's a GPU that should never have been that high in the first place. Even the original 3080 Ti, the Founders Edition, which is $11.99 if you get it at Best Buy, that's the only place you're going to be able to get Founders Edition, that's going to be basically the cheapest 3080 Ti. You can make an argument that compared to the $699 RTX 3080, priced pretty good, is a Windows CD key. Today's video sponsor is going to be VIP-CDKdeals.com. Very simple process. You can get a Windows 10 Pro CD key and remember to use code CC20 for a nice discount. $1,200 for a 3080 Ti, if you really compare it GPU to GPU, is absolutely not worth it. You're only getting 2 extra gigabytes of VRAM and a little bit better performance in terms of rasterization and ray tracing. Really isn't much difference at all between a 3080 and a 3080 Ti, and even so, less of a difference between that and the newer 12 gigabyte 3080. That's why these GPUs are sitting on the shelves. Even the 3080 Ti Founders Edition, if you guys look at Best Buy, they will have them in stock. That's going to be the last GPU anybody goes for. Of course, everybody's going to run towards the 3060 Ti's, the 3080s, 3070s. Even the 3090 will sell out faster than a 3080 Ti at those original MSRPs. That shows you that people, either you need a 3090 for content creation, or you just want the ultimate in terms of the gaming performance, or you much rather save a considerable chunk of money and get the 3080, which performs pretty well. So all of these GPUs people aren't buying now. The 3080 Ti is just sort of the best example of what happens when prices go too high. Nvidia priced it way too high. I know the market drove up a lot of this, but still $1,200 was still far too much for a 3080 Ti. At most, we speculated before this GPU came out, it should have been around $999. That would be somewhat fair price for a 3080 Ti, and then the 3090 could have stayed at $1,500. But now, look at the 3090 Ti at $2,000. $30. Nobody's buying it. It's in stock absolutely everywhere. If the demand was really that high, it would have carried over a little bit more. So that shows you there are other things happening in the market with many other factors that really dictate why these GPUs aren't being purchased. And like I said in the beginning, that's going to be bad news for Nvidia, because it means they're not going to be able to price RTX 4000 anywhere near what they've been pricing these other GPUs. Now, the area of the market where we do have to focus on, that's going to be sort of the lower budget and the mid-range GPUs. Now, 3060 Ti is going to be one of the best values if you get it at MSRP for gaming, because it's almost a 3070, often considerably cheaper. And as you step up to a 3070 Ti and a 3080, you definitely get hit with some diminishing returns. Although we should point out that a 3080 at $699 is definitely a sweet spot. At $999, like a lot of these newer versions are selling, I still think it's a little bit too expensive, and at this time, probably better to wait until the new RTX comes out. Therefore, bringing these prices down even further, if not getting one of the newer GPUs, which should be priced more attractively. So if the trend continues now, we can expect much better pricing on next generation GPUs. So it makes sense. It's bad news for Nvidia that people aren't buying at these outrageous prices. If nobody buys a 3090 Ti at $2,000, nobody's going to want any GPU at $2,000 aside from a few enthusiasts and the people that want the ultra high-end stuff. That means a 4090 is going to have to be priced considerably more fairly than these GPUs are priced now. Even if it has a tremendous amount of performance, people just don't have mostly use cases to be able to take advantage of that. Most people that do have a 3090 or even a 3090 Ti, they may be the exception if they're trying to push 4K or even 8K. Very few people are going to do that. Maybe some games are extremely intensive. Maybe they're using it for non-gaming purposes. I know my viewers always mention there are certainly many people who do content creation, that do 3D work and modeling and machine learning. That's also a big market for GPUs like the 3090. Since it has so much VRAM, it definitely has that going for it as well. But here we're kind of talking about for gaming purposes, and aside from getting the highest frames per second possible, really doesn't make that much sense compared to the rest of the market, especially not at these inflated prices. Really, the focus is going to be at that competition around the 3070 level. Previously, the 3070 used to be a great value. In the current market, it's not a great value because it's still overpriced for what it is. You can often find a 3070 Ti for the same or very close to a 3070. That shows you how the pricing is really skewed. And of course, between the 3060 and 3060 Ti, 3060 Ti, even though it has less VRAM, it's flat out the better GPU. And thankfully, we've seen even the 3050, as we get into the more entry level and the more affordable GPUs, get really a lot more logical now. I've seen them for under $300, really where they should have been this entire time. So often it's going to be easier to find a 3090 Ti in stock rather than a nicely priced 3060 Ti or 3070. Those still are selling a little bit better than the other GPUs just because there's a much broader market for them and you're getting a lot of performance at these reduced prices. But remember, even though prices are significantly lower than they were even last year, even a few months ago, they're still very, very high. 3060 should have been $329 and a 3060 Ti should be $399 all day, but generally the AIB GPUs we're still seeing in the $500 to $600 range for the 3060 Ti, which is still ridiculously expensive. That's the price of a 3070 or even a 3070 Ti back when GPUs actually made sense in terms of their market value. And now, seeing this much decreased demand, I think it's really going to open up the reality of what's going to happen during the rest of the year. Intel as well as AMD definitely should take note in terms of pricing of their GPUs so they don't go way too far and way too expensive, or else people just aren't going to buy them and we're going to be sort of in a very, very down market, and that's eventually going to translate to not having very exciting GPU releases if the companies also don't have any financial incentives to do so. But we also don't like being price gouged by the companies, especially when things were tough, and the amount that they dropped the prices recently, some of these GPUs went down literally $500 overnight. That shows you there was definitely a significant amount of room there, and now, bad news for them, they're going to be sitting on these expensive GPUs on shelves until they really start to heavily discount them when the next generation comes out. So let me know what you guys think. Are you seeing high-end GPUs just stay in stock literally everywhere because of their high pricing? Same thing happened with AMD GPUs last year. Nobody bought them because it was just way too high in terms of the pricing. How about the mid-range like 3060 Ti's? Are you guys seeing them a little bit more available, or is it still tough to get one at a good price? Let me know down below. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.